Hello students, welcome to EduRev. Have you ever wondered how a single week of news can teach us about democracy, ecology, technology, and the stresses on our planet all at once? In the next 5 to 6 minutes, you'll get a clear, exam-ready tour of recent developments across polity, environment, science, and strategic affairs and what they mean for policy and governance. Let's begin with a civic hook. National Voters' Day on January 25th. This day marks the foundation of the Election Commission of India and aims to honor voters while encouraging youth enrollment and participation. The 2026 theme, My India, My Vote, with the tagline, Citizen at the Heart of Indian Democracy, underlines a simple but crucial idea. Legitimacy rests on informed participation. For UPSC aspirants, this is a reminder that electoral processes are not just events. They are institutions that require continuous strengthening through registration drives, voter education, and trust-building measures. Shifting to biodiversity, the Tamil Nadu Forest Department study of the rare Madras Hedgehog brings conservation into focus. The Madras Hedgehog, locally called Mulleli, is native to peninsular India and prefers dry scrublands and thorn forests, feeding mainly on insects. Although classified as least concern by the IUCN, local declines due to hunting and myths about medicinal value show how cultural factors can endanger species even when global indices look stable. For governance, this flags the need for community engagement, habitat protection, and targeted awareness campaigns alongside legal safeguards. Turning to technology and industry, the Advanced Chemistry Cell Production Linked Incentive ACC-PLI Scheme aimed to create 50 gigawatt hours of battery cell capacity by 2026 and build a domestic supply chain. Launched in October 2021 with an outlay of 18,100 crore, the scheme promised incentives up to around 2,000 rupees per kilowatt hour and required firms to meet domestic value addition targets, 25% within 2 years and 60% within 5 years. Recent assessments, however, show a shortfall between ambitions and achievements, highlighting gaps in investment scale, supply chain readiness, and localization timelines. For policy analysts, the lesson is familiar. Production-linked incentives can catalyze industry, but they must be matched by ecosystem investments in cathode, anode, and electrolyte manufacturing, workforce development, and technology transfer. Now consider a public health alarm: the drying antibiotic pipeline and the rise of antimicrobial resistance, or AMR. India bore an estimated 2.74 lakh deaths attributable to AMR in 2019, a sobering indicator of clinical and systemic vulnerability. Contributors include high infectious disease burden, extensive antibiotic consumption in humans and livestock, empirical prescribing due to limited diagnostics, and weak environmental controls on pharmaceutical residues. The global antibiotic pipeline shows limited innovation, constrained commercial incentives, and rapid erosion of effectiveness for any new agents. This is why stewardship matters. Targeted behavioral regulation, diagnostic strengthening, and surveillance are more sustainable than blanket bans that may deny access where antibiotics are needed. India's national stewardship efforts since 2015 point to progress, but also underline the need for expanded surveillance beyond tertiary urban hospitals to capture community-level resistance patterns. Science and defense intersect in stories like sonic booms and hypersonic glide missiles. Researchers using seismometers to detect sonic booms from re-entering debris show how cross-disciplinary tools can reveal atmospheric and geophysical phenomena. A sonic boom occurs when an object exceeds the speed of sound and generates shock waves, with intensity shaped by altitude, size, and atmospheric conditions. On the strategic front, the Long-Range Anti-Ship Hypersonic Glide Missile, LRASHM, set to be displayed at the Republic Day Parade, signifies India's entry into hypersonic anti-ship capability. Developed by DRDO for the Indian Navy, this Mark 5 plus glide vehicle aims to strengthen coastal deterrence, maritime strike options, and A2AD postures in the Indian Ocean region. For strategic studies, the key questions are how such capabilities alter regional calculus, command and control, and the thresholds for escalation. From natural hazards, Java Island's deadly landslide is a human geography warning. A recent landslide on Java killed at least 8 people and reminds us that Indonesia's most populated island sits on active subduction margins, where volcanic and tectonic processes shape risk. Java's dense population, volcanic formation from Australian plate subduction beneath the Sunda plate, and historical role in Indonesia's development make disaster preparedness a policy priority. Finally, the UNU report on global water bankruptcy reframes agriculture as operating beyond hydrological sustainability and calls for urgent systemic change. The report notes that roughly 70% of global freshwater withdrawals feed agriculture, that about 3 billion people live with declining or unstable water storage, and that 170 million hectares of irrigated cropland face high or very high water stress. It also highlights land degradation. More than half of agricultural land is moderately or severely degraded, and salinization affecting tens of millions of hectares, undermining food security. For economic and agricultural policy, this means rethinking cropping patterns, improving water productivity, investing in recharge and reuse, and aligning subsidies and trade policies with true hydrological limits. So what are the cross-cutting insights for a UPSC aspirant and future policymaker? First, institutional resilience matters. Whether in elections, health, or industrial policy, durable institutions and data-driven governance outperform one-off measures. Second, policy must be systems-aware. AMR cannot be solved by new drugs alone. Battery manufacturing needs supply chains, and food security cannot ignore water limits. Third, community engagement and behavior change are necessary complements to regulation, evident in conservation threats to the hedgehog and antibiotic misuse patterns. Fourth, technological advances bring strategic and societal shifts that require calibrated policy responses, from hypersonic deterrence to atmospheric monitoring. Quick recap. National Voters' Day reminds us of citizen-centered democracy. The Madras Hedgehog study highlights local conservation needs. ACC-PLI reveals industrialization and supply chain challenges. AMR underscores stewardship and surveillance gaps. Sonic booms and LRASHM show science defense linkages. Java's landslide stresses disaster risk. And the water bankruptcy report signals urgent agricultural reform. Each story ties back to governance, data, institutions, incentives, and public engagement. As you prepare for exams or policymaking, frame issues in layers: facts, causes, implications, and policy options, and connect local examples to systemic principles. Thank you for listening, and I hope this overview sharpened your analytical lens while keeping the human and practical dimensions in view. If you want concise notes, practice questions, or deeper dossiers on any of these topics, do explore more material on EduRev. Stay curious, stay kind in your application of knowledge, and keep learning with EduRev.